Jawar Muhammad to me is
our Malcolm X.
He is our frontline.
one in a million. Oromo means Jawar and Jawar means Oromo.
He is the voice of this upcoming generation in Oromia.
What Jawar means to me is he is the Martin Luther King to the Oromo community. He's a fighter, he's a believer, he doesn't give up, and he's been our momentum for this whole movement, and also just him being able to put his pride aside to fight for his country, for his people, and even till now, him being in critical condition, not stepping away from the fighters out there, which are the youth. He's supporting us, he's supporting all the freedom fighters back home, and he's just the voice for our people.
He guides us to fight for what we believe in, and freedom and equality for everybody, not only Oromo. So Jawar is a lot to me.
It means a lot to the people. Like, you can tell how emotional people have been since the news came out that he's in critical condition. So you can tell, like, the people really love him, you know?
You know, Jawar taught me a lot of stuff. Personally, his dedication, his determination. We always call him, especially I and close friends, we call him a bulldozer. He always take action disregarding the risks that come with the action he took. And that's a lot of, there are a lot of achievements he achieved by taking a lot of amazing risks. And for me, he is a true example of the most dedicated and determined person, and I learned a lot from him in that perspective.
He's like family to me. He's like my older brother. I knew him before he started all this, before he started All Men and all this Cairo stuff. So he's the voice of the Cairo. He's the voice of the Oromo people. So he means a lot to a lot of us.
I haven't got a chance to meet him personally, but I met his family. And, I love him to death, because although, sometimes things don't work out for him and his family, I'm always gonna love him no matter what. He's gonna have my support. And like I said, people out here, they're always gonna have my support no matter what. That's the unconditional love that I give to my Oromo people.
To me, he's a leader, a voice for our Oromo people. And it's really sad that he's actually in prison for something that he did not do, just speaking up for his own people. He's a role model for me.
Jawar Muhammad saba Oromoof nama qaroo ta'edha.
Uummata keenya haalaan walitti dhiheessee addunyaa hundarra kan jiran Oromoo hundaafuu qooqa taheef jechuu Jawar jechuun nuti jechuudha. Jawar jechuun Oromoo jechuu.
That's what it means to us.
Har'a boreetu kana fide garaan kommoo si malee kunoo har'as amma si dide.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. My name is Howie, and I am the chairwoman for Jabduu Oromo American Women Council, a women-led political organization harnessing the power of Oromos in Minnesota by promoting civic engagement, public service, advocacy, and voting education within our community. We also have our Fase Gamada, the wife of Jawar Muhammad, and Dr. Obsa Hassan, the president of Oromo Community of Minnesota, here with us today, who will be saying a few words about this urgent issue. I would also like to acknowledge all of the elected officials here with us who are showing their support for the Oromo community during this difficult time. We have Minneapolis Council members Jamal Osman and Kevin Reich here with us today, so I want to say thank you for joining us and uplifting our voices. We also want to acknowledge Oromia11 Media for allowing us to use their space, their studio space, to host this event, so we say thank you for that. We are here to call for action to help save the life of Jawar Muhammad and other Oromo political leaders imprisoned in Oromia who are on a hunger strike demanding the release of all prisoners of conscience and the reinstatement of opposition party licenses. Jawar Mohammed is from Minnesota. His family, his wife, and his son live here, so this is deeply tied to the state of Minnesota. As you may know, Jawar is a prominent opposition leader in Ethiopia with millions of supporters and was arrested in June of 2020. The charges against him and others have fluctuated, and they seem more like an attempt by the Ethiopian government to eliminate dissent ahead of elections now scheduled for June 2021 after being postponed twice last year. Jawar, Bekkele Garba, and others are imprisoned Oromo leaders who have been on a hunger strike for 26 days today, and they are now being denied medical access, making us gravely concerned for their health. Jawar, Bekkele Garba, and other imprisoned Oromo leaders have been on hunger strike for 26 days today, and now they're being denied medical access, making us gravely concerned for their health. Ethiopia is already in a volatile state while the ongoing war in Tigray, both internal and external, land disputes, and growing unrest in the country around the country and around the East Africa region with other countries such as Sudan. We are afraid if something were to happen to the imprisoned leaders, the country and region could completely destabilize. We ask our representatives in Congress to take immediate action. We have already heard from New Jersey Senator and Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Senator Bob Menendez, and USAID Secretary Samantha Powers. However, we are yet to hear from our own U.S. senators on this matter. We appreciate Representative Ilhan Omar's statements shedding light on the issue occurring in Ethiopia, however, are very disappointed in her deliberate choice not to name Jawar Mohammed, who is a father and a husband to her own constituents. We also call on the rest of our congressional delegation to make public statements about this hunger strike, encouraging the Ethiopian government to address the prisoners' demands and urge the State Department to ensure the well-being of Jawar and Bekkele Garba and other leaders who are also imprisoned with them. Thank you, and I will pass it on to our Fasi to say a few words.
My name is Erfase Gamada. My husband, father to our 4-year-old son and comrade, Jawar Mohammed, has been unlawfully detained in Ethiopia since June 30th, 2020. The last 237 days have been a nightmare for my son and I. As someone who has personally been advocating for Oromos and other marginalized groups for as long as I can remember, this situation is more difficult than I could have ever imagined, because it's a family member and close friends that are detained. Jawar has always been driven by the love for his people. Everything he does is to serve, uplift, and empower Oromos who have been socially denied social, economic, and political power in Ethiopia. His love for his people is so deep that we named our son Oromo. Jawar was a resident of Minnesota along with my son and I until 2018. In August 2018, he returned to Ethiopia to usher in what some thought was a transition to the first ever democracy. Many know Jawar for being an outspoken advocate for deliberately silenced and unheard communities, the founder of Oromia Media Network, and a prominent political figure. But to Oromo and I, he is a father and a husband. One of the most heartbreaking moments I've had to deal with was when Oromo turned 4.5. Since the day Oromo turned 4, he has been counting down to his 4.5 birthday. He would say, Ayo, meaning mom, it's 5 months till I turn 4.5. Abo, meaning dad, it's 1 month till I turn 4.5. Once January began, he started a daily countdown. He made sure everyone knew he was turning 4.5 on Friday, January 29th, 2020. The week of, although he didn't ask whether we would speak to his dad, he had been anticipating our weekly call. He was expecting to talk to him about his birthday plans. Thursday, January 28th was the first day of the hunger strike, so we didn't have our call. On Friday, we woke up and I sang Oromo, happy half birthday, and he asked me, Ayo, did Ambo forget my half birthday? I was speechless. I didn't know how to explain to a 4.5-year-old that his dad was on a hunger strike and wouldn't contact us. I began thinking of the thousands of kids in Oromia that are asking about their mothers and fathers who they may never see again. The last time we spoke, 11 days into the hunger strike, Jawar wasn't his usual talkative and joking self. He looked very weak and frail. He spoke slowly in a voice and his eyes were sunk in. As he was struggling to speak, he told me to say hi to Bakala. Bakala came and sat next to him. He too looked frail and tired, but he kept a smile on his face. He told me, don't worry, Jawar may look fragile, but he is fine. Bakala saw the worry in my eyes and was trying to comfort me. Their faces that day were etched in my mind. Today they're on their 26th day of the hunger strike because of their undying commitment to justice and equality. Jawar has dedicated his whole life to fighting for social, political, and economic equality for all, and now because of this unwavering commitment, I may never see him again. Each day becomes more and more unbearable. I have been in agony for months, and the last few weeks have been traumatizing. I'm always afraid of what I'm going to hear when I answer the phone or see when I check social media. I'm here today to call for action to save my husband, Jawar's life, and thousands of Oromos. I urge my representatives in Congress to do something before it's too late. Help me make sure my son sees his father again.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for being here. As Howie and Arfasi explained, the situation is very dire. Each day, this hunger strike continues with no resolution. The chance of Ethiopia and the entire East Africa region destabilizing increases. As you guys know, Minnesota is home to the largest Oromo diaspora population in the world outside of Oromia. Our community is fearful of our families that are still in Ethiopia if the country erupts into complete chaos or a civil war. We're asking our representatives in Congress to do everything they can to immediately avert this situation from spiraling out of control. We also want to recognize leaders that continue to show their support for our community, including our champion, State Senators John Hoffman, Kerry Dizek, Senator Fong, Umar Fatah, Jim Abler, Chris Eaton, who held a press conference last week calling for the release of Jawar Mohammed and for Dad to come home. We want to thank City of Brooklyn Senate for passing resolution in December 2020, highlighting the gross human rights violation in Ethiopia and ongoing war in Oromia and in Tigray. We also want to showcase a Minneapolis City resolution that was introduced last week by our council member, Jamal Osman, who will help me in presenting it here. I'll call on Honorable Jamal Osman to come to the podium, please.
Thank you. My name is Jamal Osman. I'm a Minneapolis City Council member for Ward 6 in central Minneapolis. Minneapolis has the largest East African community anywhere in the world, also the largest in Oromo community. So I represent Oromo community, and it's my honor to stand here today to show solidarity of the Oromo community. My people are Oromo, and I stand with them. As an elected official, I'm letting all the elected officials know it's a dire situation we're in right now. We hear the mom, we hear the family that Jawar Mohammed was taken away from. It's time as elected officials to speak out, to talk to those that have influence, to the Congress of the United States and the United States government to do something about this situation. Jawar Mohammed is from Minnesota. His family is from Minnesota. I can't imagine being taken away from my own family. I have 5 small children, and 4.5 years old Oromo is missing his dad. I don't have to go details of the struggle the Oromo people have been going through for many years and the mistreatment from the Ethiopian government for many years. I am from there. My family is Oromo. I'm part of the community, and it's the community I represent. The world has seen what's been going on since last summer when brother Hachalu Hundusa was killed, an international singer who have touched many people. There was no due process. There was nobody has done anything. We have seen our neighbors, our people all over the United States take the beautiful flag they have and protest it for freedom. They're asking for freedom. We are asking for freedom. And we are asking those individuals that are being imprisoned without due process to be released. The international community must speak out and let the Ethiopian government know we can't watch human rights violation by ethnic group in Ethiopia, which is the Oromo community. I'm going to do my power, what I can as an elected official, to let my colleagues and the biggest city in Minnesota know that we cannot watch this. I'm putting a resolution forward that are highlighting the struggle of Oromo community and supporting the Oromo community and the Tigrayan community in Minneapolis. And I thank my colleagues that are supporting me. And I'd like to welcome right now my colleague, City of Minneapolis Council Member Kevin Reich, to read out loud this resolution that will be finalized this Friday.
Thank you, Councilmember Osman. And yes, this is a draft form, but we will be formally recognizing this at full council. And it'll be a recognition of solidarity with the situation, the people who want to rectify it, and of course the leadership of my colleague, Councilmember Osman. The draft reads as such. Whereas Ethiopia is an ethically diverse country with 110 million people and a strategic partner to the US. And whereas the Oromo are the largest ethnic group in Ethiopia and Minnesota, It is home to the largest Oromo diaspora population in the United States of America and the world. Whereas on June 29, 2020, the assassination of Hachala Hundasa, a popular Oromo singer, activist, was followed by a violent response from the government of Ethiopia. And whereas the response has seen the arrest and detention of prominent Oromo activists and political leaders. And whereas these leaders, including Bekele Gerba, one of the most important figures in Oromo advocacy, and Jawar Mohammed, a Minnesotan who started an international news network to give voice to the Oromo people, have been held in unsafe conditions. And whereas numerous human rights groups have accused the Ethiopian government of perpetrating further violations, including random arrests, killings, torture, during the aftermath of the assassination. And whereas Gerba Mohammed and thousands of others are kept in crowded, unsanitary jails, military camps, underground detention centers, with inadequate medical care, exposing them to COVID-19 and other illnesses. Whereas the Ethiopian government has also denied residents the free flow of information through shutting down internet access and social media networks. And whereas, starting in January 27th, Bekele Gerba, Jawar Mohammed, and others have partaken in an extended hunger strike, bringing international attention to the actions of the Ethiopian government. And whereas the prisoners are using their hunger strike to bring national and international attention to their demands that political prisoners be released, opposition parties be allowed to operate freely, and to participate in upcoming elections, and the end of mistreatment to their families, members, visitors, and by prison officials. Whereas the Tigray region has also been the site of growing humanitarian crisis with the displacement of thousands of civilians, allegations of war crimes and atrocities, and millions more experiencing hunger because necessary aid has been blocked. And whereas the tragedy unfolding in Oromia, the continued war in the Tigray region, and the state-sponsored terror deeply affects the Oromo community in Minnesota. Therefore, be it resolved by the Minneapolis City Council declares support for the Oromo community and the people of Ethiopia, calls for the cessation of all violence and state-sponsored oppression, access to unimpeded international humanitarian aid, the restoration of communication services in Oromia and Tigray, and the release of all political prisoners, an independent investigation into crimes perpetrated by the Ethiopian government, free and fair elections, which all parties can participate, and the beginning of a national dialogue which will invite healing and growth. This is what we plan to formally recognize and send to you and your colleagues.
Thank you, council members, for advocating for this issue. We really do appreciate you as a Minneapolis resident. I'm really, really happy that you are here. So is Arfasi, is also a Minneapolis resident. So we're very happy that you are here with us today and advocating for this cause and to help us bring Jawar Mohammed back here, back home safe, save his life, bring him home here, and also advocating for the release of all Oromo political prisoners. And we really do appreciate for your support. At this time, I would like to open it up to anyone who has a question or a comment.
Can you talk to how many people are doing hunger strike and what started? I mean, I kind of discussed the reasons, but what started the hunger strike and how many people are involved?
Okay, sure. I would, if Dr. Obsa, I will let Dr. Obsa. I'm a little emotional, so I apologize for that.
That's a very good question. I think there are close to 20 people, if I'm not mistaken, and the majority of the people who are on hunger strike are in Kaliti federal prison, and there are others in other prisons who have joined in solidarity. And again, we're talking about people who have been without any calories for the last 24 days. And how we, I think, stated, and also as it was highlighted in the Minneapolis resolution, the main reason that they went on hunger strike is to shed light on the mistreatment of political prisoners. And also, the people, the families, the friends who come to visit them who have been harassed, sometimes just by virtue of wearing colors, because in prisons people wear a yellow jumpsuit, and people have come out wearing yellow. I think you can see on Hawi and some other people here. And the Ethiopian government have rounded up people who come to see them, greet them, and also boost their morale. And unfortunately, in Minnesota, I can wear whatever I want, but in Ethiopia, that's not the case, and everything is politicized. Yes. Yeah, that's very good. A very good question, because here we have the ambassador of Ethiopia to the United States, in the capital of the world, Washington D.C., using his pulpit and his platform to actually lie, blatantly lie in the open, where in fact the prisoners who have embarked on hunger strike have not stopped, and those who actually collapsed have taken to the hospital and recuperated, have gone back and probably restarted the hunger strike, including the Janat Afa and Shamsuddin. And so he's basically lying to the world. And Samantha Power, who is the chief of USAID, and Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, and people who have intel what's happening on the ground, have openly advocated for the Ethiopian government to meet the demands of the political prisoners, not necessarily joke with their life. So I think there's responses that have been targeted towards Ambassador Fusum Araga, and I hope he corrects his statements, because he's supposed to serve the people of Ethiopia, not become the can't even say this word, a propaganda machinist for the Ethiopian government, because this party will go, but the people of Ethiopia will stay. I think he ought to realize that and advocate for what's right. Anyone else? And unless you guys want to add to that? Okay. Rami, you have a question?
In what ways can the representatives, senators, and state reps from Minnesota intervene in the situation?
You want to answer that? Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, you could. So there are a couple of things actually we're hoping to achieve by hosting this press release or conference today, and that is, we want to ask our congregational delegates to request the U.S. Embassy in Ethiopia to check on the wellness of Jawar Mohammed and other Oromo political prisoners, ensuring that they get access to medical treatment, medical attention, and their human rights respected. We call on the State Department to urge the Ethiopian government to give access to medical attention not only to Jawar but to all of the prisoners who have been on a major hunger strike for over 3 weeks. Those on our House Foreign Relations Committee, like Representative Ilhan Omar, who also represents the districts that Arfasi and I both live in, and Dean Phillips, which many of our Oromo families also live, and he's a representative of that district. We ask that they hold a hearing on the state of the democratic transition in Ethiopia and upcoming elections. We call on the Ethiopian government to respect the freedom of speech and free all political prisoners that have been arrested for exercising their rights. And so we publicly call for humanitarian attention to this situation. And that's kind of what we are hoping to achieve. And one additional thing tied to this is also that we want to ask for an independent investigation of the human rights abuses in Oromia and the Tigray region as well.
I do want to underscore that the singular most important thing is to save the lives of the people on hunger strike. And we want the State Department, specifically Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, to pick up a phone and call Abiy Ahmed, because he only listens to our State Department. Why is that? Because the United Nations, the European Unions, they've been very loud and clear, yet it's been falling on the deaf ears. And it has a security implications. It has regional implication as Ethiopia as a gateway to Africa, as a very important strategic partner of the United States. Should something happen to these leaders who have millions and millions of followers, and Ethiopia has a population of over 100 million people, most of it young, 70% of the population is young, and Jawar and Bakala Garba and others have millions and millions of followers. If something had happened to them today or tomorrow, we don't know what comes out of that country. So it's that serious, and they need to act soon. And we appreciate the statements that Ilhan Omar has released, but she has a power to actually pressure the State Department to do what we're asking. What we're asking is not just in the interest of the Oromo people and other Ethiopians, it's also in the interest of the United States. And time is not on our side. And I just wanted to laud what Howie said, and we want this happen today, not tomorrow. Thank you. Any other questions?
So again, thank you for joining us here today as we address this current issue. And so I say thank you.
Thank you.
Anutu manisitti majedhu kan ormaa taate maal godhu har'a boreetu kana fide.
Jawar Muhammad to me is
Our Malcolm X.
He is our front line. One in a million. Oromo means Jawar and Jawar means Oromo.
He is the voice of this upcoming generation in Oromia.
What Jawar means to me is he is the Martin Luther King to the Oromo community. He's a fighter, he's a believer, he doesn't give up, and he's been our momentum for this whole movement, and also just him being able to put his pride aside to fight for his country, for his people, and even till now, him being in critical condition, not stepping away from the fighters out there, which are the youth. He's supporting us, he's supporting all the freedom fighters back home, and he's just the voice for our people.
He guides us to fight for what we believe in, and freedom and equality for everybody, not only Oromo. So Jawar is a lot to me.
It means a lot to the people. Like, you can tell how emotional people have been since since the news came out that he's in critical condition. So you can tell the people really love him, you know?
You know, Jawar taught me a lot of stuff. Personally, his dedication, his determination. We always call him, especially I and close friends, we call him a bulldozer. He always take action disregarding the risks that come with the action he took. And that's a lot of, there are a lot of achievements he achieved by taking a lot of amazing risks. And for me, he is a true example of the most dedicated and determined person, and I learned a lot from him in that perspective.
He's like family to me. He's like my older brother. I knew him before he started all this, before he started All Men and all this Cairo stuff. So he's the voice of the Cairo. He's the voice of the Oromo people. So he means a lot to a lot of us.
I haven't got a chance to meet him personally, but I met his family. And, I love him to death, because although, sometimes things don't work out for him and his family, I'm always going to love him no matter what. He's going to have my support. And like I said, people out here, they're always going to have my support no matter what. That's the unconditional love that I give to my Oromo people.
To me, he's a leader, a voice for our Oromo people. And it's really sad that he's actually in prison for something that he did not do, just speaking up for his own people. He's a role model for me.
Jawar Muhammad saba Oromoof nama qaroo ta'edha.
Uummata keenya haalaan walitti dhiheessee addunyaa hundarra ka jiran Oromoo hundaafu qooqa taheef jechuu Jawar jechuun nuti jechuudha. Jawar jechuun Oromoo jechuu.
That's what it means to us.
Maal godhu har'a boreetu kana fide kummoo si malee kunoo har'as amma si didee.